America, in the early 20th century, grappled with the rising tide of alcohol consumption. Saloons and bars were bustling with activity, and alcohol was a common part of social life. However, this increasing consumption began to raise concerns among various groups. The temperance movement, gaining momentum for decades, found its voice amplified during World War I. Women in particular played a significant role, organizing rallies and meetings to advocate for the cause. Advocates cleverly linked the conservation of grain for food production to the war effort, swaying public opinion. They argued that grain should be used to feed soldiers and civilians, rather than being wasted on alcohol. This period of wartime austerity provided fertile ground for the Prohibition movement to take root. Families were already making sacrifices, and the idea of banning alcohol seemed like another necessary step. In 1919, the 18th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified, prohibiting the manufacture, sale, and transportation of intoxicating liquors. This monumental decision was celebrated by many who believed it would lead to a healthier, more moral society. This amendment, a testament to the movement's success, marked a drastic shift in American social policy. Society had to adapt quickly to the new laws, leading to significant changes in daily life. The Volstead Act, also known as the National Prohibition Act, followed soon after, outlining the specifics of enforcement. It detailed how the new laws would be implemented and the penalties for violations, setting the stage for a new era in American history. The ban on alcohol did not curb the thirst for it. Instead, it birthed a new era of clandestine operations and secretive dealings. Across the nation, a vibrant underworld emerged, eager to exploit the demand for forbidden spirits and illegal brews. Bootleggers, with their networks of hidden distilleries and smuggling routes, became folk heroes to some. Speakeasies, hidden establishments offering illicit liquor and entertainment, flourished in cities and towns across the country. They served as gathering places for those seeking a taste of the forbidden, turning a blind eye to the law. This widespread defiance of prohibition demonstrated the limitations of legislating morality and controlling human behavior. Faced with the daunting task of enforcing an unpopular law, the government grew increasingly desperate. Prohibition was meant to curb the consumption of alcohol, but it instead fueled a thriving black market. They reasoned that if they couldn't completely eradicate the supply of illegal alcohol, they could at least make it too dangerous to consume. This led to a drastic and deadly decision. This led to a controversial and tragic policy: poisoning industrial alcohol. The government believed that by making the alcohol toxic, they could scare people away from drinking it. Industrial alcohol, readily available for various purposes, was being diverted for the production of bootleg liquor. Bootleggers would steal this alcohol and redistill it to make it drinkable. The government, in a misguided attempt to deter consumption, mandated the addition of toxic chemicals, including methanol and benzene, to this alcohol. These chemicals were extremely harmful and could cause blindness or even death. They hoped the risk of serious illness or death would deter people from consuming bootleg liquor. Unfortunately, this policy resulted in thousands of deaths and countless injuries, marking a dark chapter in the history of Prohibition. The poisoning of industrial alcohol had disastrous and far-reaching consequences, affecting countless lives across the nation. It failed to curb the demand for bootleg liquor, as desperate and determined individuals continued to consume it, unaware of the deadly additives. The allure of forbidden alcohol was too strong, and the underground market thrived. What resulted was a public health crisis of unprecedented scale, overwhelming hospitals and medical facilities. Thousands of Americans, many of them impoverished and with limited alternatives, suffered agonizing deaths or were left with debilitating health problems due to the consumption of poisoned alcohol. Families were torn apart and communities were devastated. The policy, intended to deter, had instead become a death sentence for many. Government officials were faced with the grim reality of their decisions. The tragic irony was that the government, in its attempt to enforce sobriety, became responsible for poisoning its own citizens. The very laws meant to protect public health had backfired catastrophically. The death toll from poisoned alcohol, coupled with the widespread lawlessness and corruption that plagued the Prohibition era, ultimately led to its demise. Public opinion turned sharply against the Prohibition laws. The 18th Amendment was repealed in 1933, marking the end of a failed social experiment. The nation breathed a collective sigh of relief as Prohibition came to a close.